When it comes to training a small muscle group like the rear delts, you don't need a whole hell of a lot of exercises to make them grow. As a matter of fact, I could do it in just 2, as long as one of them isn't this. Because even though I know this exercise is incredibly popular, it actually only achieves one of the 3 functions of the rear delts, so you're not really training your rear delts to their fullest if this is what you're relying on. Because yes, while it has this horizontal abduction component, take note because you're doing it with an internally rotated shoulder at the top. Not the best way to do it. Secondly, you're not getting the extension necessary to fully activate the rear delts. And finally, you're not getting the external rotation that you could be getting on this exercise. So let's not do it, but let's do this instead. Have a seat and take a load off. Okay, that's enough rest. Now pick up your dumbbells. But don't stand up quite yet because sitting is actually part of the solution. Because when you sit, you actually take away some of the momentum that you're using to cheat those dumbbells up on this isolation focused exercise for your rear delts. It's not a good thing. But what I want you to do is stop also calling it a reverse fly because you don't want to be flying the weights behind you. In other words, when we think about flies, we think about the wrist and the dumbbell and how we can get them as wide and far away from our body traveling back behind us. That's not enough. Remember I said you're missing the extension component. So what you really want to do is think of it as a rear delt row. In that case, your focus will shift to the elbows and how you can get them back behind your body. And when you do that, good things start to happen because you get that extension of the shoulder, and that is a key component of activating these rear delts. One that you're missing every single time you do a rear delt fly because you just don't get them past the plane of your body. Now, if you can keep your elbows down at the same time, we're going to introduce that 3rd function of the rear delts, and that is external shoulder rotation. So dropping your elbows as you do the exercise will put you almost into a W position with your elbows, with your thumbs pointing back behind you at the top of every rep. If you're in this spot, you've accomplished all 3 functions of horizontal abduction, extension, and external rotation, and you've got a good exercise. But that's just one. We still have one other. And that is with an exercise you can actually do on back day. And that's actually good because it gives you a chance, even on a bro split, to increase that training frequency that the rear delts tend to handle easily, so we can train them both on shoulder and back day. That being said, regardless of when you train this exercise, it's the all-time greatest exercise for building bigger rear delts, mostly because you can apply a much heavier stimulus to the rear delts that they don't often get. But you have to do it this way, and that is with a straight bar, a wide grip, and a high pull. Because when we do it in a typical fashion with the elbows held close to our sides, we immediately shift the workload to the lats. But we can make this a big rear delt builder by pulling up high. Now you'll notice that the elbows stay dropped down slightly below the wrist here as well to make sure we're getting a little bit of that external rotation bias too. However, the real focus, just like on the last exercise, was to drive your elbows back behind your body as far as you possibly can. Remember, it's extension combined with this horizontal abduction at the shoulder that will give you the gains you're looking for, especially when you're looking for just 2 exercises to do. You might be wondering, but Jeff, what about face pulls? I thought you loved the exercise. While I do, it's actually a little bit better suited as a corrective exercise rather than one that's going to load up the rear delts. If you want to know how to do face pulls correctly though, you're going to want to watch that right here. And also, if you want the complete playlist on the only 2 exercises you need for every muscle group, watch that here. All right guys, click subscribe, turn on notifications. We'll see you later.